Hey, we the people, unity here. It's July, it's the summer in the year of a presidential election, and the conventions are going strong. I think the Republicans are having theirs now, and the Democrats are coming up. And this is a time where they really want to rope you in and gain your loyalty, gain your commitment. Well, we want to do just the opposite. We don't care about the Republicans or the Democrats. We only care that there's good government. The Democrats and the Republicans keep talking about democracy. Well, I wanted to touch on democracy today because many times the word is thrown around just to make a political point, okay? But democracy in its purest form is one person, one vote, guided by laws and rules and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. I mean, the Bill of Rights should protect all people. The Constitution should protect the process. One vote, one person. That's what democracy really is. And the people who are sending people to Washington to represent them should have the assurance that those people that go to Washington are going to represent their views, their wants, and their needs. I'm going to declare to you today that the wisdom of the crowd is greater than the wisdom of Washington, D.C. I mean, think about it. I've said this before and I'll say it again. If the wisdom of the crowd, we the people, had a vote in it, we would not have a $34 trillion deficit and no one would be starving. Well, there's people on the streets anyway. Social Security is almost insolvent anyway. We have a $34 trillion deficit. Think about that. Social Security is not shored up and solid. We have a crumbling infrastructure, and a lot of people want to try to fix that with more deficit spending. Where did the 34 trillion go if we still have these issues? Think about that. There are solutions to all of these issues, but as I've told you on a previous segment, solutions cost votes. So the Democrats and the Republicans run away from solutions so they can always have issues to scare you and to manipulate your vote. I'm going to tell you, don't worship political parties. I know the convention's going on. There's a lot of emotion at the Republican convention. There's a lot of emotion going to be at the Democrat convention. They're going to fire up their base. They call you base. You know that? You're just base. And they want to fire you up, and that really is a nice way of saying manipulate you. Don't worship political parties. Don't worship politicians. Don't hate political parties. Don't hate politicians. I'm telling you, I love everybody. I mentioned George Bush, the terrible president he was because of what he did in the Middle East. I mentioned Nancy Pelosi telling people to vote for the Affordable Health Care Act before they read it. Pass this bill and then we can read it and find out what is in it. A bill that's going to affect almost every woman, man, child in the country, and she wants it passed before you read it. I mean, that should have been an impeachable offense. But no, she got reelected. She's still in Congress. It's amazing. It's your fault, we the people. But don't worship politicians. Don't hate politicians. Don't worship political parties. Don't hate political parties. What you need to become is not a hater or a lover, but you need to become a fruit inspector. The policies that come from Washington, D.C. bear fruit. You get me on that? Do the policies bear good fruit? Do the policies bear bad fruit? Do the policies make your life better? Do the policies make your life worse? Just become an inspector of the fruit of the policy. That's how you stop being base. That's an insult anyway. We send these people to Washington, they live like kings and queens, and they call you base. Oh yeah, we gotta turn out the base. We gotta turn out the base. That means come to your neighborhood, lie to you, make a lot of promises, and then after you vote, forget about you. That's what turn out the base really means. Don't be manipulated by fear. If a party can't tell you what their policy is gonna do to make this country better, but they can only tell you, oh, be afraid of the other, be afraid of them, be afraid of this. No. We don't live by fear. You know, I'm going to tell you about my story in one of these segments of when I eliminated fear out of my life. Fear is a very, very useless emotion. And, you know, a lot of things we fear are never going to happen anyway that people fear. So let me tell you, fall out of love with politicians and become fruit inspectors. Stop hating and fearing politicians and just inspect the fruit of their policy. Is it good? Did it help you? Let me tell you something. Once you take the emotion out of politics, oh, I'm a Democrat, I'm going to argue for the Democrats, I'm going to argue for the Republicans. You know, we talked about Thanksgiving. Shame on you if you ruined your Thanksgiving because one's a Republican and one's a Democrat, one's a conservative, one's a liberal. You know what? Forget that crap. Yeah, I said forget that crap. We agree on so many things. Let's talk about that on Thanksgiving. We love our grandmother that's still alive. We love Aunt Sue's turkey. We love Betty's sweet potato casserole and that dressing or stuffing, depends on which one you want. That sweet potato pie or that pumpkin pie, whichever one you want. Whatever, baby. But listen, let's agree on that on Thanksgiving. Once you rid yourself of the emotion and the manipulation that's done by both parties, once you rid yourself of that, a luminescent veil of clarity will saturate your entire political mind. And your mind will say, free at last, free at last. My political mind is free at last. Y'all may say I'm tripping, but really, it's the truth. A lot of you are in a type of political mental slavery. You think you have to be a Republican, you think you have to be a Democrat, but no, all you have to be is an inspector of good policy, an inspector of bad policy. And when people give you bad policy, you should not vote for them, or else you deserve bad policy. Let me tell you something. Right is right and wrong is wrong. A $34 trillion deficit is wrong. Okay? Going to war with Saddam Hussein because he threatened your dad, a previous president, is wrong. It's wrong, okay? letting criminals steal from every store in your community until the stores move out of your community and then you have nowhere to shop in your community is wrong. Okay? And the people who are giving you that policy, because law enforcement is an art that can be properly painted, unveiled, administered. Okay? It's nuanced. You can't have too heavy of a hand, but you can't have too lax of a hand. Law enforcement, good laws and law enforcement is necessary. We live in a world where laws and law enforcement, equally applied, justice for all, is necessary. I'm sorry. I've heard crazy politicians say, close the jails. You know what? I haven't heard anything that silly in a long time. I wish we didn't need jails, but we live in a world where we do. And to deny that means you're in some kind of fantasy land. Passing a bill without reading it is wrong. And the person who said that should never be elected to Congress again. Withhold your vote. 2 and you're through. 2 and you're through. Say it again. 2 and you're through. No one should get a third term in this entire country. And 80, anyone except the incumbent. You've got to take that mantle. We're not going to vote for anyone for a third term. You will get Washington's attention. You will get Washington. I dare say you will get Washington's compliance. They will hear we the people when we stop voting for incumbents. The wisdom of the crowd is powerful. The wisdom of the crowd. But if we don't join together in unity and stop voting for incumbents, we deserve whatever they throw at us. They can raise the taxes to 60%, 70%. They can start wars because they have friends in the industrial complex who are going to make sure that war is very profitable for them. You're going to have lobbyists. Do you remember I taught a lesson on lobbyists? Over $4 billion divided among 535 people. That's about $7.5 million per congressperson per year. You think they're going to vote what we the people want? Or do you think they're going to vote for what the 7.5 million represents? Think about it for a moment. People, safety, law and order. This is not a liberal or a conservative issue. It's not a Democrat or a Republican issue. When a child is in his or her bedroom playing with a video game or watching television or doing homework, and a bullet comes through the window because there's two gangs fighting, that's not a liberal or a conservative issue. That's a life issue. And Washington, D.C. will use law and order to divide us. But let's agree, we want law and order, properly administrated, fair, equal justice for all. We don't want to over-prosecute one group. We don't want to under-prosecute one group. If you do the time, do the crime, you do the time. I said that backwards, didn't I? If you do the crime, you're going to do the time. So I'm getting caught up in this because this is a very passionate issue. I grew up in a neighborhood with a lot of crime. And, I remember walking home from school, middle school, and diving on the ground because Gang A was shooting at Gang B, and me and my friends with our little book bags were in the crossfire. I mean, no children should live like that. And you know what? It's not a liberal or a Republican. It's not a liberal or conservative or Democrat issue. It's a life issue. But they'll use it to divide us. If you allow this to continue, it's your fault. Take good government back. And this is how you do it. When the primary comes, refuse to vote for that person who's seeking a third term. Okay? I'm not telling you to flip Democrat to Republican or flip Republican to Democrat. I'm not into that. I want you to find a candidate in your race, your local race, that has common sense, that has fiscal responsibility, that believes in justice and equality for all. So a basic human who can agree on these things that we all agree on. One who's going to vote that way and who's going to legislate that way. And he's or she is the anyone except the incumbent. The reason you have to stop voting for the third term is because that's how you gain control back. That's how you get Washington's attention. Oh, we the people have awakened. We better listen to them now. See, that's how you do it. That's what AETI is all about. So, we've talked about a lot on this beautiful day. It's a summer day and the conventions are going full steam ahead. But when the election day comes around, look at those incumbents and withhold your vote. Vote for the other guy. I'm going to tell you something. We know more than the people in Washington. Experience in Washington, D.C. is not a good thing. I'm telling you, it's the truth. Experience is not a good thing. You know, a guy named Bob Menendez just got found guilty of some real crime. He's facing sentencing 200 years. And he did the same thing a few years back, but because he was Bob Menendez, he got off. I think it was like a hung jury or something like that, because he can pay for lawyers with your money that you could never afford if you were accused of something. Isn't that crazy? He got off the first time for doing the same type of shenanigans using money that you gave him. And this clown was going to run again as an independent. And he actually thought he had a chance to get your vote. That's how much they take you for granted. That's how much disdain, how dumb they think we the people are. Menendez was going to run again. After being charged twice for the same crimes and a ton of evidence that he actually did it. They found gold bars in this man's house that weren't reported as income. Gold bars. Now, who gets paid in gold bars? These people are arrogant. And you have got to put them in their place. My time is running out. But listen, join AETI, anyone except the incumbent. Become part of the movement. Let's show Washington, D.C. that we the people are alive and well. See you next time.